day here at Gulfstream Park, a smooth opening as we set sail amid those postcard palm trees out in the infield with a 10-race Wednesday, already kicking off week number 3 of the championship meet. Weather is perfect, as I kind of quipped on Twitter this morning, Acacia. There is no snow in the forecast down here in Hallandale Beach. I mean, all kidding aside, we hope everybody's doing okay, and it's good to be back as we start a new 5-day racing week.
It is. My parents in Connecticut keep texting me pictures of the forecast, and I just say, sorry, it's not like that here, but we're very, very grateful and hope everybody stays warm and safe if you are in the Northeast and expecting snow this week. But we have a great card on tap, Jason, that 9th race this afternoon, stakes quality. Really looking forward to that feature.
Yeah, obviously Social Paranoia back in the mix, who's got a couple of graded stakes wins on the turf to his credit this year for trainer Todd Pletcher. And I know Todd on the record saying if he does come back and he runs pretty well in his first start since the 4th of July, winning the poker at Belmont, that the Pegasus turf might be in the conversation, certainly on the radar. So without a doubt, a high watermark on today's card. As we move forward, and again on a fast and firm Wednesday afternoon, a friendly reminder here with the new week starting that Beat the Expert is never all that far off in the future. And there he is, Mr. Gulfstream Park himself.
He's ready for you. Ron Nicoletti, you can head on over on the website, the GulfstreamPark.com website. You'll find the Beat the Expert contest on Friday. Your picks must be in before first post. And the best news, it's free to play. So we hope you play along with us. Jason took it down last week, so let's see if Ron can keep that good momentum going.
I've got faith in Ronnie.
Yes.
I really do. Yeah, we've worked with him a long time, and he knows Gulfstream better than anybody, and I've got a lot of faith. He's going to make it 2 for 2 for the team moving on to that Friday Beat the Expert. Rainbow Six, you talk about high reward and low risk. Well, 20 cents gets you in the door as far as your admission is concerned, and a whopper of a guarantee this afternoon.
$900,000. It starts in race 5 today. Again, that featured 9th race, stakes quality with the presence of Social Paranoia and a few others who we'll talk about a little bit later. Some interesting maiden races too. A few interesting drop-down runners today. So see if you can maybe find some value throughout that sequence, but it's a fun one kicking off in the 5th.
And a couple of main track races, in fact, start the action today, and that coincides not only with the new week, but of course that opening pick 5, and you're going to take a little stab at the early sequence, and it's a ticket with that 4-horse spread in the 3rd that clocks in at $32.
Yeah, that's the one I really felt I wanted the most coverage. As I'm too deep here in the opener, I've got the speed of 5th Illusion, and he's a bit of a price, or she, excuse me, early on. The turn back and kind of drop down too with the 3 Facts Only, who should be coming off of it a bit. Second race, I'm too deep as well. That 3rd race, I wanted 4 deep. I felt there were several interesting runners, and even with 4 horses, I still feel like I'm a little bit exposed in there. It's just who's going to show up on the drop down. You've got some horses that have quality but have had quite a few starts, so I find it a very interesting race. I'm 1-2 on the inside, including the colt by Will Take Charge and Fuego Caliente, who's the brother to La Verdad and Hot City Girl. We'll see if he can wake up today. And then 2 deep using the favorite Our Mercedes Boy along with the speedy Grand Cacique in race number 5.
And our Mercedes Boy going to be, I think, a pretty clear favorite in that race. He's fairly short in the program at 7-5, and he's a horse maybe depending upon your stance in that race you could lean on and maybe go a little bit deeper. As we start the new week, again, an all-main track early double, 5.5 furlongs on the dirt for the 2-year-old filly, 12-5 maiden claiming opener, and I'm going to take the current favorite here in the 3 Facts Only, who you don't trust as much as I do. And my argument is, although her best race ever clearly occurred last out and it's on the turf, I'd like to think in a spot like this, maybe it was a simple case of her just improving the more she's been around, the more maturity that she's had thus far for trainer Catherine Davey. I'm going to take Paco Lopez in the 3 Facts Only.
My biggest problem with her is that she ran at this level and, or I should say a comparable level towards the start of her career. I'm an open company, then state bred 25,000, just hasn't been able to get it done as of yet. She's certainly run some races that make her a major player in here. So I think there's something wrong with my pick 5 ticket. I'll have to check on that because I had the 6 Nicole Princess as my top pick, first time starter. Just the type of race, Jason, that I felt could be yearning for a first through, just hasn't had as many chances. A filly by Sky Kingdom. The dam wasn't much. She was just 1 for 15, though she was stakes place. There are a few workouts scattered in there for Antonio Sano, whose barn has been going well, and I thought the presence performance of Louis Saez was key.
No, Louis might be like the not so subtle telegraph that Antonio Sano does think this filly will run well for 12-5 first time out. We'll see. That's your big field in the main track opener in race 1. As we go a mile in the second, we'll bring on a cast of 2-year-old $20,000 to $16,000 claimers. I'm curious, actually, you and I in a race that I found so difficult, we wound up picking the same try in this spot. I'm curious, and I don't know how they're going to bet this thing. I don't know. When I looked at the race originally, I don't think you're going to get 4.5 to 1 on the number 4, the Method. And, you know, my stance with this race, just in terms of like a pre-race pecking order, I think in many respects the 4, the Method, might be the most important horse, just because of, well, where did that last race come from going this 1 mile distance last time out?
And the biggest question is, can he repeat it? I know it was a very impressive effort, but that was the sealed sloppy track too. So you do kind of wonder, because at the same level on a dry track, 2 starts back, ran a 9 Beyer speed figure, then all the way to a 47 last time. So I went back to one who only had 1 dirt race, and it's not just because my cat's name is Pippin, but Uncle Pip, the brother to Extravagant Kid, actually, who, as we know, can run on anything, turf, dirt, sprinter extravaganza, so to speak. But this one's only dirt race was very good, and obviously a big standout in the middle of the 2 turf races.
Yeah, absolutely. And he won, this gelding won during a time from way off the pace where, when and where horses were just not doing that consistently over at Gulfstream Park West. So although that race from a figure standpoint may not knock you over, I upgraded that performance 2 back on October 23rd for the 2 Uncle Pip. We already said the 4, the Method, in many respects might be the gelding they have to beat, just because that last race was so sharp and such a big improvement. But does he have a respectable encore performance in the tank? And how about the Ron Spatz horse, who we have capping the try? If this gelding by Prayer for Relief didn't like a wet track last time, he might be a big rebound candidate here.
Yeah, and I think he could be really interesting stretching out too, as his only distance race was going 2 turns on the turf. Could show a little bit more speed too, and I think that could be a big key in here. I mean, probably Hanger 1. The Method was much more forwardly placed last time out, but if Edgar Zayas is very good out of the gate, puts Savatiano on the front end, I think that could be definitely a benefit for him.
Opening turf race here. No coincidence that it's got a champion trainer in the mix. In fact, the nation's top turf barn, and Chad Brown is sending out the favorite in the number 3 Trade Deadline, who you and I both obviously have some issues with and don't fully trust. Clearly a horse they had high aspirations and was 3-5 first out at Gulfstream back in late February 2019, a long time ago. Does this horse, quite simply at this stage on the cusp of his 5-year-old birthday, does he simply just wake up here trying maiden claiming foes for the first time?
And it's interesting because the blinkers go on too. He showed a lot more speed in his debut, and watching back that last race at Keeneland, he actually broke really well, but then kind of dropped back and just really seemed to not get over that good turf at Keeneland too. So it looked to be, just from the video, a little bit on the softer side. So I wonder if maybe that's something that he didn't take well to. It also could have been the fact that he hadn't run since April of 2019 as well. He's definitely a logical player in this spot, but both you and I looking for some alternatives, and I took another layoff runner, also blinkers on, with the 6 Colliery, dropping in class first time for Kent Sweezy, who's done well taking over some of these horses who maybe need a drop from Jimmy Jerkins. And my notes on his debut were that he looked like a big turf horse that just hadn't figured things out yet. So maybe some mental, physical maturity, some time, those blinkers on can help him, as I don't think he'll be quite 60 to 1, but definitely a little price today.
Yeah, he'll be kind of middle of the pack, absolutely, for our good friends over at Centennial Farms. We always like and root for Centennial, and Kent on a good run and a good guy, and glad his career is taking off. Then you've got the 2 who I'm taking a shot with in 7 channels, and I get this is a pretty difficult maiden 50, just in terms of like who showed up and horses dropping down in class. It's a pretty salty field. And I'm going to go to a horse, though, and I truly feel, as we go to his last start, this was back at Gulfstream Park West, about a week before Thanksgiving. He's the number one in this spot and never really had any great position in this race. And I truly feel he's caught some live fields. I really think this horse is coming out of a good race against Super Watson. I think this was the race that Mark Casse won his 3,000 career winner in fact, with Super Watson getting it done over the other Live Oak course. But you can see 7 channels having to go wide, and that has been more or less the story with this horse. He's been pretty patiently handled in just about all of his races, and that has either put him in sort of a tracking mode behind slow paces where he couldn't catch the winner, like 2 and 3 back against American Phenom and Strong Headed, and even last time out where he just had to circle the field and go wide. I really like Luis Saez taking over and come in during the controls today, and I'm hoping that's good enough for this horse to strut his stuff, even though he is winless in 7 starts on the turf. That's a good little race, though, Acacia, isn't it?
It's really interesting because obviously you and I landed on some similar horses, but all in all saw it differently. And 7 channels, absolutely. He's been knocking on the door against tougher competition, or what appears to be. And he also, you saw a horse to his inside lost his footing on the turn, which kind of pushed him out even more last time out, and having to stop that momentum is a major detriment. I took a little bit of a speed play for Kelly Breen with Pool Shark to the inside, who finally got on the turf last time and really liked it. Thought it was actually a decent maiden 40 race that he does come out of, and the speed should always be dangerous. But it's very interesting to me about who's going to step forward in here.
Definitely. Now the 4th race, as we step forward, and in fact back on the main, our 3rd dirt race already on the broadcast, we'll go at 7 furlongs. It's a $50,000 to $40,000 2-year-old maiden claimer. And do we have a situation where the 6 Bibu, who to be fair has been bet and hasn't really run all that well in 2 starts, does he ship in from Kentucky for trainer Brad Cox, turning back in distance and just likes this field going 7? I'm hoping that's the case, but I understand your reservations with a horse who, again, has been 3-1 and 7-5 and has not really run all that well in the 2 races.
And you feel like when it's Florent Geroux and Brad Cox at 7-5 at Churchill Downs in a maiden 50, that's kind of where you expect them to get the win. But I'm with you. I mean, he showed a much improved speed stretching out last time. He's gone a greater distance of ground than many of these in here who will be stretching out to the 7 furlongs. So I think that that's definitely key, on top of the fact that he has a fun name to say. I landed on the number 1, Little Demon, who's just been running against better state bred maiden special weight competition with some decent horses last time, taking the drop, and just has Luis Saez aboard. Landed on this one, but there's a couple wild cards in here. I mentioned Fuego Caliente with that big pedigree, first time for Jeff Angler, and a first-time starter, American Fleet, for Kelly Breen.
At Kelly Breen, we've got a stat for Mr. KJB, who does have Paco Lopez riding this homebred colt for the West by Tisnow. What's cooking here with Kelly Breen?
Well, it's not good numbers, and I thought that if you're kind of looking for a alternative, because that's kind of what I was thinking at first, and I was playing around with DRF Formulator, maiden claiming first-time starters just 1 for 20 over the past 5 years. So I thought that that was really telling, and normally I don't like pulling such negative stats, but I think it's interesting because, again, if you are looking for an alternative in this spot, the barn, not their specialty with firsters in the maiden claiming ranks.
Right, which kind of goes against the grain in my mind, because Kelly is very good with his younger horses and lightly raced maidens, but evidently many of those horses are running in special weight and not debuting in a maiden claiming race. An interesting stat as we take a little time out. We chased 900,000 on the flip side of this quick break here on Gulfstream Park today. We are back. Just take a look at that live shot. Things a little quiet outside. It almost looks like a painting, in fact, here at 11:50 in the morning, soon to be afternoon on this Wednesday, December the 16th, if you can believe the calendar, which is pretty wild, but a gorgeous Wednesday. Acacia starting off a new week, and boy, hard to argue with that scene out there, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful. We really are very fortunate to be here at Gulfstream Park, and we appreciate everybody watching and wagering from wherever you are. If you have cold weather coming your way, hope you stay warm, and we hope that we're sending some sunshine to you.
And fire up firstbet.com,
Yeah.
expressbet.com, and we've got all the action right here at Gulfstream Park. Although we'll take our show on the road, so to speak, or at least a little bit like that, this coming Friday with your December the 18th, a week before Christmas Day, round in the Stronach 5 with the 12% takeout. We've got two races joining us, Acacia, from Laurel Park.
That's right. Races 8 and 9 from there in Maryland, and the late pick 3 here from Gulfstream Park in the sequence. Dollar minimum, always that low 12% takeout means that the payouts have been sensational. So don't miss out. It's a really fun wager and a lot of exciting action in just a short amount of time.
43 on the clock to race 1, a big field. In fact, you've got 12 on the dirt. This might be the only track in the country where you routinely have 11, 12 horses competing in a dirt race. That's coming up in the first. A bit later on, race number 5 kicks off the Rainbow. We've got the big guarantee. And how's the ticket looking?
I have a single. It's no surprise. I'm going to hang my hat on Social Paranoia a little bit later on in race number 9. The only question is that he's been off since that July win in the poker. So he is coming off of a layoff, but we know he likes it here at Gulfstream, and just his class, I think, really is a step above, and I'm looking forward to seeing him back, as I've always been a fan of his. Again, same two horses that I landed on the early pick 5 in with Grand Cacique and our Mercedes Boy in the 5th race. I'm 3 deep in the 6th, which is tricky. You've got some horses who have been exposed and have some questions so far. 2 horses in race number 7. The 8th race, I think, is an interesting one, too, as we have the fillies, a lot of them stretching out in distance for the first time. Danny Gargan has a off the claim runner in Sunny Isle Beach, who looks like she'll be pretty tough, and landing on Social Paranoia in the 9th before I spread in race 10. That is a very tough, I think, maiden 50 to close things out with a lot of top barns in play.
Oh, I mean, I went through. You've got Graham Motion, Chad Brown, Todd Pletcher, and a few other guys. No, I'm with you. That is a very difficult, very much sort of like a dovetail from that competitive 3rd race we talked about earlier. No, I'm with you. 10th race is a difficult cash out and a very Rubik's Cube-like puzzle to close things down in the Rainbow 6 and the late pick 5. Now, you might not have to go that crazy deep in this opening leg of the Rainbow, which is a Florida-bred, dirt-bound, allowance-optional claimer. I took the favorite in this race in the 2R Mercedes Boy, and we'll show you his last start over at Gulfstream about, again, a week before Thanksgiving. He's this big gray horse chasing Doc Amster, who's been a good claim for Georgie Delgado. Picked that horse up off the Zayats and Wesley Ward for not much money, and he's got some quality, Doc Amster. This was a solid effort, though, out of our Mercedes Boy, but in a way, I still think he might be best when he's able to make one run and he doesn't have to get into that chasing mode, which in this 6-horse field against Doc Amster, that was the hand he was dealt. I think there's more speed for him to maybe lay a little further back and come with that one run where he doesn't have to grind and peck away so much.
That's fair. He certainly is. I think he's a major player in this spot. My biggest question is that he really has taken quite a lot of money. He's been favored in 4 out of his 5 last starts. The only one he wasn't was that turf try. I think that he's a very honest, very respectable type, and he should get a nice setup. My pick, Grand Cacique, is stepping up in class, which I don't necessarily love either, because that was kind of a come-from-nowhere race. But I felt using these two in the pick 5 kind of covered me on either side. But I thought Grand Cacique did beat a couple of next out winners and does have that always dangerous early speed.
Will he have a glass jaw stepping up and trying better horses today? He's an interesting wild card, no doubt about it, for Victor Barboza and Christian Torres. Halfway home as we dive into the late pick 5 on this Fast and Firm Wednesday, December the 16th, a $36 play for me. I almost pulled the trigger on just standing alone with Social Paranoia. But right next door, I said, you know, he is coming off a layoff and evidently had, minor surgery. And he does catch a good field, including the Mike Maker train, number 5, Hey Dakota, right next door. So a little bit of breathing room for me in the 9th, which is really, though, of course, about Social Paranoia. Speaking of that horse, I've got Todd Pletcher. in the nightcap along with Chad Brown and H. Graham Motion. And working from the back forward, I obviously used a couple of horses in the 8th race. Really a race that has like a bluegrass feel to it. I mean, the biggest players are all coming in for different barns from Kentucky, from Churchill Downs and Keeneland. 3 horses in a very diverse field in the 7th. You've got Shippers, you've got a filly who was good last out against the boys, and 1-3 for me to start. And, you know, Acacia, this is an opening leg of the late pick 5 in Wednesday's 6th, where I put the most precedence on horses that had inside post. In the one Maka, I know she's had a lot of chances, but I've always believed she's probably a little bit better beyond 5 furlongs, which she gets going from the rail. I like the early speed of the 3R West Indy, and I do think in many respects you probably picked the horse to beat in the 10. She's just quality, but her recent form has got me a little alarmed, and I'm not a big fan of that post, nor the 11 Ginger on my mind from out there going 7.5 furlongs.
And we have seen a couple of winners from outside posts towards the start of the championship meet, but I agree with you. It's never an advantage to be posted out there. If this was August and she was taking a drop in class off the form she had then, I think she'd be a major player in this spot, and I still think she is. Her race 2 starts back was fine. Last time was very disappointing, but I like her having Luca Panici, and I feel like she's better when she can be forwardly placed, so hopefully she's able to work out a trip from that outside. I just preferred her as not having been exposed. I really felt like I kept leaning towards like the likes of Keep It and Matcha, but both of them I've just picked so many times. They've already been exposed at a variety of distances to this level before, and while those two I think are major players, to me they were just a little bit tough to take on top.
No, I hear you. I mean, the negative with both Keep It and Maka, they've just had a lot of chances.
Yeah.
There's no question about it, and that is something that both Diane's horse, Marici, the 10, she's just quality, and even KO's horse on the outside, Ginger on my mind, they just don't have the same kind of resumes as those heavily raced fillies that are down in the inside post and middle of the pack. Anyway, let's move on to the 7th here. We're on the turf. We'll go a mile. It's a 2-year-old $25,000 starter optional claimer. And as I was saying with my late pick 5, it's a pretty eclectic cast when you consider the Anthony Pecoraro horse and the 3R Hoisted Mast who's coming in from Delaware. You've got a filly in the 2 Viking Queen who was good last time out trying the boys today. And a number of horses, in fact, nearly half the field trying the turf for the first time. Yet you and I are taking the familiar approach, or at least a horse that does have a good turf race and local turf race showing. And I got no qualms with the 4 Go Mike, who I had liked last time. And I thought outside of running against his stablemate, Mr. Leonardo, who was just a bit better, he just obviously ran pretty well on the turf.
Yeah, he did. He finished second, gets the blinkers on, already has some natural speed. Luis Saez just kind of checks all the boxes in this spot. But the 3R Hoisted Mast I thought was a bit interesting, as his only dirt race at Colonial, or turf race, excuse me, at Colonial was pretty strong, and he was entered in that turf race back at the end of May when we first started 2-year-old racing here at Gulfstream. It came off the grass. There's not a ton of turf pedigree on the bottom side, but as far as the dam and what she's produced so far, but I think being gelded to, just having a bit of a class relief from that restricted stake last time, I think he's a very interesting player coming back here to Florida.
Getting Tyler Gaffalione in his South Florida return. The 7 Long Beach kid is one of those grass unknowns in this spot. Was good first out, paid a good price for a very good trainer in Kathleen O'Connell. I'm sure you looked it up, though, because I did. I saw the Montbrook as the dam sire, and there's just not a lot. In fact, by not a lot, I mean 0 immediate turf pedigree.
Yeah, there really isn't, which is tough. I do find it encouraging that that race came off the turf. He won, and he still entered back here in the turf instead of finding a dirt race. So that was definitely an encouraging thing. We'll see if he's able to get so comfortable on the front end again today.
All right, bluegrass vibes for sure as we turn the page and move on to Wednesday's 8th race, fairly late in the card. In fact, so late, this will be our last race today on the main track. It's a 2-year-old filly, starter optional claimer in between Safi's horse on the rail, who won on Thanksgiving in bold article, and Safi's got 2 in the race, also sending out the 3 to a T. The 4 Yellowstone Girl, will show you her last start from Churchill. She ran fine and was a rare price for Brad Cox, who nearly pulled off an 8-1 upset with Giroux. and the number 7, Sunny Isle Beach, who's coming in from Keeneland for Danny Gargan. I mean, you've got 3 major players all shipping in and snowbirding from the Bluegrass State.
Yeah, you certainly are. And I thought Yellowstone Girl, it was still interesting that she was a bit of a price as she was coming off of a pretty strong effort too, though for maiden 30, and it was stepping up. But she clearly showed that she was in good form right now and finished a respectable second that day. So she's definitely a player. She could have some pace company from Shiny Empire next to her, though.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Bold Article's not that slow. I actually watched her win on Thanksgiving. We weren't racing at Gulfstream West and had some free time on my hands and was on first bet when she won, but it looked like she caught a fairly compact field and had everything her own way. So this is a tougher spot for Safi's filly on the rail and Bold Article, and you and I are both biting here on the 7 Sunny Isle Beach. I'm sure piquing your interest like mine was the fact that she's a new claim for trainer Danny Gargan, who's barring this meet is already 4 for 8 with a couple of stakes wins. And here's just a quick stat to belabor the point a little bit with an operation that bats at a high percentage and wins at a fairly gaudy percentage off the claim. This is just narrowing it down. Gulfstream the last 5 years, I mean, you're talking a near 50% strike rate.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, actually, just the stats for this one. And honestly, just what Sunny Isle Beach has faced so far. I mean, she's had 2 wins, and the only other start was a turf try in stakes company against the boys at Saratoga, where she ran behind Golden Pal. So I think that she's definitely worthy of respect in this spot as far as her 2 dirt races do go, and that stat just makes her even more appealing.
Now, Social Paranoia, very appealing here in the 9th. He was a good 3-year-old. I think, though, tipped his hand here on the Florida Derby undercard when he came back off that layoff in the Grade 3 Appleton and had that big closing punch, that he might be best as sort of a miler / middle distance turf horse. And that opinion, I guess, came to fruition and then some, because not only did he win the Appleton on 4th of July up in New York at Belmont Park, I guess this was right around closing weekend of the summer meet at Belmont, he upset the poker, and we're going to show you that race back on Independence Day. Big, potent late kick. I mean, Acacia, when this horse is on his game and gets a little help just in terms of the pace, he's got a devastating quarter-mile brush.
He really does, and he was definitely aided in the poker by having some pace to run at, which he didn't have in the Fort Marcy, and you can even see it in his running lines in the Fort Marcy, where he was forced to kind of be out of his element and be more forwardly placed. But look at him here, where he really just kicks things into gear late, closing on the outside. He has a very impressive late run. I think on paper it looks like he should get some speed to chase today, and we know he likes it here at Gulfstream.
It's a crowded pace picture. I mean, it really is on paper, between Thunder Ride, Fig Jelly, Epic Dreamer might show speed, Renaissance Frolic. I mean, as you work your way through, maybe the 3 Perfect Spidey. I mean, there are horses that like to mix it up in the first flight. He's a big favorite. He's the story of the race. If he stubs his toe, though, and needs one, is the number 1 Olympic runner his main foe here for Mark Casse, a horse that's kept some pretty good company up north.
And that was the key for me. I mean, he's going to be coming back going 7.5 furlongs, and he's run a variety of distances and definitely kept top company with the likes of Pink Lloyd and Starship Jubilee, the top horses you could imagine running against up at Woodbine. So he, I thought, was interesting, though he's another one that will be closing from off of it. But just thought as far as class did go, he was very interesting. I have no qualms with Hey Dakota either. And I must say, it's a very salty field, but I'm still very disappointed that Soldado scratched today, because I was dying to see him try the turf. I've thought since the beginning he looked like a turf horse.
He's a Verrazano.
Yep.
He's had talent, maybe a little star-crossed at times, but he looked like an interesting wild card, sure enough, from the same stable that's sending out the big favorite. But I hear you. Little bum Soldado came out. Maybe that just bodes well, or that much better for Social Paranoia, that Todd doesn't want to waste an effort like Soldado, because he's so confident that we're going to get the good Social Paranoia off that July 4th layoff. We'll see. And again, as we close things down and hit double digits, I mean, you just don't miss a beat. This is like a classic, wintertime, primetime maiden claimer here for 2-year-olds, where you're starting with Graham's horse down inside and Flutiste, who I picked as a first-time maiden 50. But again, I think the pre-race key ladder, you got to start with Chad's horse in here, Chad Brown with the 4 lower for longer, who just didn't show anything first out at Monmouth, yet has been down here, has acclimated to South Florida, and here's a recent workout with this Irish-bred filly a little north of us at Palm Meadows, working in company of Zoiks, who's got a cool name.
Yeah, I love that for sure. And by Tamayus, who we don't see many of his offspring here, this horse sold for the American equivalent of about $128,000 at the Tattersall's October sale as a yearling for Klarovich Stables, and Chad Brown has been working down here in South Florida. I think that's a positive. The fact that she went off as the favorite, debuting at Monmouth, she was likely in the B string there, and she looked to me in watching the replay like she was just off the bridle the whole race and just had no idea what she was doing. So I like that she's had some steady works coming back for her second start, but this race is loaded as far as the quality of the barns that you're going for. This is my long shot of the day. I took the 11 Secrets Kept, who I like stretching out in distance today, and I know she's only faced New York bred company, but she does take a drop in Class 2, and I think the key is getting some more ground. Third time out for John Kimmel, whose horses really improve with racing.
And John, I think this is the first start of this meet for Mr. J.C. Kimmel.
Yeah, I love having him down here too. Great guys, you know, and horse is always well turned out. So hopefully I can get him home here at a price.
All right, sounds good. Todd's got one. Pletcher, I took the Grand Motion horse on the rail. That is a wildly competitive maiden 50 to close down the car. But that's then. This is now. And certainly of immediate concern is our Wednesday 12-16 lightning round as we get into that first topic. And already 10 full cards, Acacia, have been completed this meet. And I thought a good time as we start a new 5-day run with a blank slate. Why not take a look at as to who's done pretty well so far, and nobody in the rider standings has done as well as jockey Paco Lopez.
And boy, he came out swinging too, starting in the first week, multi-win days, it seems, all the time. But Irad Ortiz joined us down here. He had a multi-win day last week too, as did Tyler Gaffleone. Those guys are picking up steam, but Paco Lopez in the lead as of now.
And Edgar holding his own. I mean, a lot of local business and momentum from winning the summer meet here and the fall meet over at Gulfstream Park West. I'm happy to see him in double-digit territory with 10 victories. How about back-to-back over this weekend? 4-win days for Todd Pletcher and Mike Maker, a combined 8 wins between those two guys in only 2 days.
Pretty incredible. Todd Pletcher with 4 wins on Saturday, including the Fort Lauderdale with Largent. Then Mike Maker came back on Sunday and had his own Grand Slam day. Some impressive numbers already at the start for these two guys. And, of course, some trainers that we're very accustomed to seeing in the top spots as well, with Safi Danny and Antonio Sano, who started off the meet well.
Well, Acacia, before we started this broadcast, we were talking off mic just how loaded and potentially awesome Saturday's Grade 3 Mr. Prospector could be if all the big names show up, and it sounds like they're going to, led by the defending winner in Diamond Oops. And how about Firenze Fire throwing his hat into the ring for Kelly Breen? What I find fascinating about this horse, who's been so good since day one, he's a Florida bred, yet he's never started here at Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible. So we're happy to have him here. Welcome, Firenze Fire. And I spoke this morning to his owner, Ron Lombardi, from Mr. Amore Stables. He says he'll be down for the race this weekend. Really looking forward to it. And both Firenze Fire and Mind Control entered in that Cigar Mile. Firenze Fire always hated a sloppy track. They both scratch, and it looks like we'll get to see both of those horses this weekend in the Mr. Prospector.
No, that's a 3-headed monster with those two taking on a fan favorite in Diamond Oops. That'll be a great race on Saturday afternoon. How about a look back? This week in Florida bred racing history, Florida racing history, you've got Precious Passion. Of course, we had to endure the sad news of Frank Generazio passing away about a month ago, and that was something we covered and had an obit on the air during the meet over at Gulfstream Park West. But I gotta tell you, Acacia, seeing that 13 years ago yesterday was the anniversary of Precious Passion winning the McKnight at Calder. That brought a big smile to my face with just a powerhouse of a turf horse.
And he really, I think, put their breeding program on the map, too, as far as just how impressive this horse was. And the McKnight, always one of my favorite races, and fun getting to see it over at Calder. Of course, coming up just about a month from now, we'll get to see the McKnight now run here at Gulfstream.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That is a major turf race now part of the rich tapestry of the winter season at Gulfstream Park. And could be a race, who knows? I know the Pegasus Turf on your wish list would probably be the first spot, but do we have Social Paranoia returning with a big effort today? Sent out a Twitter poll, got almost 200 votes by the time I sent this up to the TV truck, and clearly winning basically by a 2/3 margin is the fact that most people think Social Paranoia is just too good.
And he really has been very impressive. He has that potent late run. It's coming in off a bit of a layoff, but Todd Pletcher, as we know, deadly with getting these horses ready to run off the bench. And though he comes back in an allowance race, it's not a soft allowance race either. Really excited about this one and looking forward to what Social Paranoia has in store for us.
As we begin our run-up to the Pegasus, we had those key preps here last weekend with the Harlan's Holiday and the Fort Lauderdale. Well, what about the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship? Money, 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 my friend. I mean, you're talking with 250 entries, you're talking almost 300,000 or 275,000 up for grabs.
Yeah, this one is always a very popular betting championship, and the top 5 get seats in the NHC. So that's an extra incentive there. We hope that you're getting ready to play. You can play at satellite locations, at Gulfstream, or on ExpressBet. So make sure you check out the details at pwcbc.com.
How about Sadoshi? Did you happen to see the news with him coming out of Japan?
Filly, yeah.
A filly, in fact, a 2-year-old filly, the first ever white horse to win a Grade 1 in Japan. And I saw this picture and I said, you know, she's got to be on. She has got to be on the lightning round. I mean, look at her.
She's awesome. She's undefeated, 4 for 4, and she's out of a mare who was very popular on Twitter a few years ago, in Buchiko, who was also registered as white, though she had black flecks on her. I don't know if you saw the picture of her dam.
Yep.
It's super cool as well. And it's a recessive gene that's been carried on Sunday Silence in the family, who was registered as black. And it's kind of cool to see how these mutations, so to speak, make just incredible looking horses, and pretty awesome to see her getting a Grade 1.
I love her.
Yeah.
I am a Sodashi fan, believe me. Hopefully we can campaign and maybe have her Pegasus 2022 or something like that, right?
I would love it. We've had a Japanese runner here before.
Yep, we did.
Yep.
Pegasus a couple of years ago in the inaugural Pegasus Turf against Bricks and Mortar. Rainbow Six today. This is a wintertime type guaranteed jackpot, my friend. A lot of dough up for grabs.
Starts in race number 5. We have that stakes quality 9th race feature in the mix, $900,000 guarantee.
All right, and the man worth more than 900,000. Millions and millions and billions is Pete Aiello, and he's coming up next with those Wednesday scratches and changes.